What is up, DTube Steam blockchain? So I'm trying a different sort of filter in this video because I want to see how it turns out. It seems like I'm in color and whatever is around me is not in color. That is kind of interesting. Whoa. Okay, that's kind of cool. So I want to talk a little bit. Wait a sec. Yes. Huh. That's actually quite interesting that you can do that. Okay, but so I want to talk about one septillion. One septillion. One septillion. It is a 1 with 24 zeros. And I want to talk about big numbers and AI age. So today it's December the 1st, which means we're in the last month of 2019. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means we're just 1 month away from the AI decade. Well, no, what is the AI decade? Well, it is the 2020s. So I listen to very, very smart people, and one of them said that we're gonna have computers that are gonna think a million times better than a human being. Now, what does that mean? That means we are in for some exponential times. So I was considering this just for fun, to take all the wealth in the world, which is around 1.2 to 1.5 quadrillion, but let's just call it 2 quadrillion if we put in all the derivatives and all that. I couldn't find a better number, so let's play with that idea. And let's play with the idea of a machine thinking 1 million times better than a human being. And let's just add finance into that, because this is really big numbers. So let's just have some fun and play around a little bit with this. So what would happen if we took all the wealth in the world and added this concept of a machine million times better than a human being? Let's just play with it. So if we took all the wealth in the world, 2 quadrillion, but let's just say, we can say 1 quadrillion also. But if you take that and you take that times a million, so you take all the wealth in the world times a million, clearly that's some exponential curve, right? And clearly we don't know even how 2025 is going to look like. So if we just play with that idea, what do we end up with? If we take a quadrillion times a million, we get 1 septillion. As I said, a 1 with 24 zeros. Now that's a big number. We jumped over quintillion and sextillion. So we went from quadrillion to septillion and jumped over quintillion and sextillion, which is in the middle there. So what I'm trying to get at is we're probably going to play in some really, really large numbers quite soon. We don't know how that's going to play out, but if we already play with quadrillion, with the derivatives at least, if that kind of wording is already there, and you consider exponential curve, yes, we might actually jump over quintillion and sextillion and go to septillion, because people think linearly. They think just because we kind of slowly went from 1,000 to 1,000,000 to 1,000,000,000 to 1,000,000,000,000. I mean, it's been fast in history, in human history. It's been fast, but the way we look at things, how long we are here, 100 years, we sort of look at it as kind of like a slow build up. And then we think it's gonna be just a slow build up of then we're slowly gonna go to quadrillion to quintillion and sextillion. No, we may actually instantly go to septillion level. Now, again, what does this mean? Well, this video is just to play a little bit with numbers and that 1 million X concept. I had an experience when I perceived some stuff, and I can't really put it in a logical way how it sort of felt, but I sort of got a great feeling that very soon we're gonna million X intelligence, a million X intelligence, and that you can't really fit that into a logical framework because it sounds insane. So it's very fun to look at finance with this like concept. So again, what would it mean? I don't even know. So when you're dealing with large numbers, you don't even know how that potentially can change the way people sort of looking at the world, and that people's desires that they have, like people have many desires, but maybe they never have had so much value, and if they would get more value, their experience would probably change and their goals would probably change, and maybe even their desires would also kind of change eventually. So you don't even know what people like or how people would change, and how even maybe bigger or societies at large would be able to sort of change, because it does seem like numbers are sort of making people a bit more aware of a lot of things in many ways. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this because I don't think like whatever a person is doing today, if you just add more numbers, especially when they're really exponential large numbers, eventually I think humans are gonna realize, oh well, I already have the basics covered now. So whatever these large numbers are gonna do to human societies, we don't know. We don't even know if we're ever gonna reach them. But if we consider the universe as a place that is always expanding and keeps expanding, it seems like we're gonna eventually go up to septillion. Yeah, it just seems like it's gonna happen, right? It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. So numbers, fascinating in many ways. Very fascinating. I think in many ways you sort of see that a lot of people more and more starting to get interested sort of in numbers, counters, in sort of everything to sort of keep things, to try to keep track of things. I mean, we even do that with the time, the day, the date, and all of that. And yeah, it's something fascinating. It's a language, right? Numbers. It's some form of language the sort of people are using, and I'm really enjoying these large numbers. I'm like fascinated about like big numbers, and and it's interesting how with numbers you can make people do different things in the world. Make them even make them open up their mind in many ways, and kind of eventually probably get some form of paradigm shift where the way they looked at a lot of stuff as money, and looked at and money as some kind of special number, and that it's attached to the label money and the numbers there. Eventually they're probably gonna realize, wait, it's like this is all these numbers, we can play with it and we can create new numbers, and if we can multiply it in a machine, maybe something very interesting can come out of that. And if we're gonna have a computer, if we play with that idea, a computer that thinks a million times better, even like if we have some smart ideas right now, it's gonna probably have a million times better ideas, and we can't even grasp that. We can't even grasp that. So people sort of have to be sort of alert on a daily basis, because because the only way they can sort of get in new data is to try to perceive stuff more clear. And you can always sort of enhance your ability to sort of perceive things. And I would say there's very few people that are like super sharp that comes with really, really original visions, which is a little bit sad. But it's going to be a speed up with the artificial intelligence, because people can just ask that one and they can even chat with it, and that one can give them a lot of new ideas that most humans never would have come up with, because they just didn't have the bandwidth, the data. So large numbers are really, really interesting. And people right now, people think in value in a very, very limited way. They usually have some labels to something, and but it's not that much deeper thought into it. People even look at debt, or like when someone not even own their house because well, they took out the loan or something like that, and people look at that as that person is rich in some ways. I mean, it's kind of funny to see how that kind of works. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. It's going to be interesting to track this more big numbers, AI age, and see how it's going to play out. 2020 is coming up in less than 40 days. It's going to be it's going to be a very, very interesting 10 years here coming up. Yeah. Have an awesome day, YouTube and Steam blockchain. Bye bye.